Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. I have a very special guest with me today, and that is my friend, the political moderate. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing all right, and just as a reminder, I am wearing the mask until it is safe for everyone else not to.
Awesome. That's good for you, buddy. So today we actually wanted to talk about PlayStation trophies. You and I have loved PlayStation for a very long time, and trophies came out around 2009, I think was when they started becoming mandatory. There were a few before then. And we thought it would be kind of fun to go back and forth because you and I, as we've gotten older and grown up, our positions on trophies have kind of changed and we've kind of ebbed and flowed. Sometimes we're really into them. Sometimes we're like, I'm kind of sick of these things. So we thought it would be fun to do a little debate here today. We'll be taking the anti-trophy stance. So his position will be, this is why I don't think trophies are a good thing. This is why we shouldn't have them. I'll be taking the pro-trophy stance. So I'll try to convince you of why I think they are a good thing. So first of all, we're just going to have a little fun. What is a platinum or a trophy in particular that you are the most proud of?
That one's actually pretty easy, and I think it's definitely on your top of the list too. It would have to be Red Dead Redemption.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That's even to date. That's one of my. It's actually not my rarest platinum. That one is Farming Simulator 2019, which I was very surprised that was my rarest platinum. But it's easily my second rarest platinum. All of the multiplayer missions. And that was the thing, too. The multiplayer missions that we played were the result of hours of hard work on our own. Then, we practiced the multiplayer. I remember we were doing some of those missions, like the one on the river where you had to go down the raft, and you had just enough ammo to kill all of the hundreds of guys on the top of the bluffs.
Yeah.
You could do those single-handedly, but it got easier if you did them with a group. And so that was, it was a platinum that reflected the amount of work that we all put into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Those multiplayer ones. And I'm glad you brought that up because unfortunately, sometimes my memory of that platinum can get colored by Terra Azul, which was this bandit camp that we had to farm for hours, and these guys would just take you out with throwing knives from 80 yards away from behind a wall.
It arced beautifully every time. It was one of those things where the AI, no matter what difficulty you were playing on, the AI gave you a warning shot, and then the next one was going to hit you every time. And so we would be on one side of it, and then I would see a hatchet land near you, and I'd be like, uh-oh, he's in trouble. And then the very next instant, the hatchet would just arc and then land right in his head, and I'd be like, dang, that's a good throw.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And we farmed that a lot because you had to get to legend level 50 or something for the platinum.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you reminded me of those other ones because the co-op and there were a lot of really fun times in that game. But like I said, sometimes when I reflect on it, I'm just like, oh my God, Terra Azul, why? So no, that's a great choice. So kind of in similar vein for my choice is, I think this was my third ever platinum, and it was for Killzone 2. But in particular, the trophy Valor Grand Cross, which required me to earn Honor Rank 4, which, kid you not, it required you to be in the top 1% of players in the multiplayer for the whole world, in 1 week. And man, did I have to practice at that game. And I never considered myself someone who was really into shooters or played them much. But let me tell you, I got damn good at that game. I kind of created this online persona of Crazy McGee with the clamps and it was a blast. I don't know, and trophies were so new then too. I genuinely had a good time enjoying it. And the reason I chose this one too is that it actually pushed me to get better at the game. In order to get this, you had to be a good player. So I appreciated that okay, I have to become better at this game. I've got to fine tune my mistakes. So I appreciated that. I wasn't just slogging just to slog, or I wasn't just grinding. It was no, I actually was improving, and it was satisfying as a player. I mean, nowadays I'd be terrible at it, but there was a point there. I mean, I could just turn a corner, and I'd hit these guys really quick. It was really fun.
And I'll add on to that for some of the naysayers out there. He got this platinum after the game came out. So when the game was its most popular, he was doing this, and he got on that board for the week. I mean, I remember, what was it, Resistance 2? You had to get 50,000 multiplayer kills or something like that. I figured you were going to say that, but yeah, the top one, that's...
Well, see, and I thought of Resistance, but that was the difference, was that Resistance got to that point where it was just grinding. I didn't really even have to be good at the game because I was just grinding. Whereas, again, for this Killzone one, you had to be good at it. So that's, to me, what kind of influenced it more was that, okay, I actually have to get good at this game. Yeah, shout out to you because you actually gave me your copy of the game. You're like, here you go, you can play it. And then I didn't think I'd get into it as much as I did. Like you said, it had just come out, so everybody was playing it. Yeah, Good times, man. Good times.
I've always been terrible at shooters.
Yeah. Well, I was too, and maybe I am again now. But for a week there, at least for that little time period, I was crazy McGee. I was at the top of those charts. That was great. Okay, so those are the ones we were most crazy. Those are the one we were most proud of. What is a trophy or platinum that required you to play the game in an absurd way, or just a way that basically was completely antithetical to how the game probably should be played?
Now, the truth is that there are a lot of trophies that fit this list in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years that kind of pepper my opinion about whether or not trophies should be a thing anymore. But the one is actually an achievement on the Xbox 360. And it was one of the very first achievements I got, because I got the Xbox 360 after I got the PS3.
Yeah.
And I got it specifically so I could play the Superman Returns game, which is still to date the best Superman game, but we'll talk about that later. Or not at all. Just getting that out there. But it was a History Channel game that was it was like a Civil War game.
Okay.
And you played from the perspective of a Civil War soldier, and you alternated back and forth between Union and Confederacy. Now, here's the thing. Because it was History Channel, they went for accuracy. So if you had a musket, the most you could get was 3 shots a minute. And they did real-time reloading of all the weapons. So as soon as I got a revolver, oh my goodness, I was in heaven. I'm like, 6 shots before a reload? Oh, yes! Each of the achievements, they were kind of in line with how you would play the game, but they also presented a little bit of an extra challenge. There was a level where I had to get over 80% accuracy using the weapon they gave me, and I'm like, okay, that's fair. I'm only going to get like 1 or 2 shots per minute, that sort of thing. I'll take my time with it. No, I was on top of a cart going by a river with a Gatling gun.
Oh boy.
80% accuracy with a Gatling gun. Now, here's the thing. I got that achievement, and I got that achievement by aiming down the sight with the Gatling gun and going, but one bullet at a time. And I got it my first playthrough, and the whole time I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. I've got a Gatling gun in a war simulator, but I'm sitting here doing 1 bullet at a time. I can only imagine what the other soldiers were looking at me like, because I'm like, it's like, all right, we got a Gatling gun, lay down suppressing fire. I'm like, okay, no problem. But
I was just thinking that, like, what if that was real life and someone has a gat and they're like, all right, lay it down. And it's like, all right, very slowly. Yeah, what would they think of you? That's crazy, man.
Like, we've got boxes of ammo. It's like, yes, and they'll last the whole war if we do it this way.
Right, exactly. Got to see the whites of their eyes. Oh, my goodness, that's funny. So I'll build on that. The first Dishonored game, I've never played Dishonored 2, but Dishonored 1 had a trophy called Mostly Flesh and Steel. And the whole point of this game was, it was basically all about stealth. And the idea was, you could run around, be chaotic, or you could be stealthy. And it gave you all these supernatural powers. You could, like, summon a plague of rats. You could blink everywhere. You could, all these crazy powers. But this trophy required you to beat the game, the entire game. You couldn't use any powers. You just had to have, like, the blink, and that was it. And it was just like, again, if it was for one level, I could maybe see that, or like a section. But why? I just felt like it took away the entire point of the game. The point was you get these mystical powers. That's like part of the storyline too. So to say, yeah, you can't use any of that. Maybe that's one of those trophy types that I think they think it's supposed to be a challenge, which of course it is. But to me, it's just not fun. It goes against the whole point of this game was to get these supernatural powers and to be, going around doing all this cool stealthy stuff. And it's like, yeah, don't do any of that. Just run around like a normal guy. Oh, cool. That's fun. Yeah, I couldn't stand that trophy.
It was kind of like, I think we mentioned this in an earlier video or conversation where one of the first platinums I was thwarted on was the Wanted Platinum, where it's based on the movie with James McAvoy, Morgan Freeman, and Angelina Jolie, with Chris Pratt as a guest star. I mean, nowadays that's an amazing cast, but yeah. Anyway, but it's the game based on that where you can curve bullets around objects. And the last trophy I have to get on that game isn't for the hardest difficulty. It's for a game mode where, for a third-person over-the-shoulder shooter, I have to melee kill everybody. Yeah, because that's what I want to do in a shooting game, is run up to someone.
Right.
And the very first level has guys rappelling down from the ceiling. How am I supposed to get up there? This was back in the days when your characters didn't jump.
Oh,
man. And so you're just sitting there on the ground like, oh man, how do I get on this raised step? Oh well, hopefully there's a ramp nearby.
Right. Well, and that's
like, what is the
That's that kind of design that I think could be interesting as a challenge if they just made it small. Again, hey, do it for one section, do it for one level. But when they're like, no, you got to do the entire game that way, it's like, but did you design the entire game to be done that way? I don't think you did, so I'm just being a jerk trying to do this.
And that's kind of the core of my feelings about trophies. Especially early on, the trophies were very, very good. And I've been playing a lot of old PS3 games that kind of reflect this, where if you got a platinum in a particular game, I'm going to use Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 as an example.
Okay.
There isn't a trophy in that game that you wouldn't get through natural playing through. Like, some of the trophy names are you have to get the Azuna drop 1,000 times.
Yeah.
In the course of playing that game, you're going to do that move at least 1,000 times. I mean, that's no big surprise. And the trophies that originally existed with some of these older games with the structures favored playing through the game, getting very good at the game, and then doing the most challenging thing inside the game that you could. But it wasn't like What's Wanted, where you have the melee kills. It wasn't with like Dishonored, where you have to intentionally not use these powers. It was, Path of the Master Ninja with Sigma 2. Your goal is to get through on the hardest difficulty level, and granted it's a silver for crying out loud, but that's one of the hardest trophies to get, and then once you get it, you're only like a step or two away from the platinum. But there's nothing like beat the game without using a sword. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? What? It's like, that's ridiculous. And so trophies, especially nowadays, and that's part of my objection to them, in order to pad out the game time, in order to justify the expense of some of these games, they're creating all of these ridiculous and stupid achievements that you have to get, and these things that you have to do in order to be considered platinum level good at the game. Injustice 2 is one of my favorite examples of this, because in order to get a platinum, I mean, I understand, especially with Warner Brothers and NetherRealm Studios, you're going to have to do some online fighting with some of these fighting games with a Mortal Kombat engine.
Sure.
That's fine. I can live with that.
Yeah.
But the trophy that's going to stop a lot of people from getting the platinum, and if you look at the statistics it has, you have to beat somebody online with the King of the Mountain using Harley Quinn and a very specific attack being the final blow.
Wow.
and so that is a bronze trophy. And so that means that you have to be good at Harley Quinn, you have to be good at duel management, you have to be playing on King of the Hill and get a turn against somebody you can beat with Harley Quinn, and she's really hard to use. And then on top of that, you have to finish the guy off with an attack that doesn't do that much damage. Because if it was an attack that took half their health away, yeah, that would make sense. No, this only takes like a tenth of their health away. So you got to wait until they've got this much health, hit the attack, and if you miss it, of course, it takes forever to recharge, because it's a recharging attack. It's not a button press attack. I mean, I've been playing a lot of older games because in order to get the platinum on a lot of older games, all you have to do is play the game. Sometimes you play it through on the hardest difficulty, but then once you're done with that, you got it. And that's if you want the platinum. If you just want to enjoy the game, it's the weight off your shoulders. My goodness. The first couple days were rough.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I couldn't imagine not getting those trophy blings. So I do agree with you that some trophies are definitely out of control, and they put absurd restrictions on them. As we kind of alluded to, I don't want to have to play the game in some absurd manner that goes against the actual gameplay value. Now, that being said, so we'll kind of move on to one of our next points, is like, your anti-trophy position versus my pro-trophy position, and I still love them, and I still find that they can add more to the game. And in particular, so if I were to use, let's say, 1 point to try to defend trophies over anything else, I'm trying to sell someone on it, I would use the point that they have no downside and that they are optional. And I've had this debate with another friend for a long time, and it was always kind of the debate of like in RPGs, mini games that are optional content or side quests. And he would always say, well, if the mini games suck or if the side quests suck, the game is bad. Whereas I was always kind of, yeah, but that's side stuff. Like, you don't have to do it. And so we were of two minds here. But for me, because with trophies, they are completely optional. You can, if you wish, 100% ignore them. You can turn the game on, play it through to the end, beat it, and say, okay, I'm satisfied. You can do some self-challenge that you've come up with that there's no trophy for if it makes you happy. That's your choice. If trophies ever got to the point where they were forcing them on you, or again, like they were required for you to beat the game or something, yes, that would be very silly in my opinion. But for me, as long as they're optional, I just can't bring myself. Options are always a good thing. It's like there is that debate around like the Souls games of including an easy mode option. Now, yes, I don't think those games should be forced to be easy because obviously the challenge is a part of what makes them the games they are. But I don't think there's a problem with giving an option, for someone who says, yes, I would like to turn this on and I can play through it easily. Same with trophies. Yes, I will choose to pursue this platinum. So even though there are times I've caught myself looking for a game that, does this game have an easy platinum? Yes, there are some games I've stayed away from because the platinum looked challenging, but at least for my case, they are only games I was only mildly interested in the first place. I've never kept off a game I truly wanted to play because of the platinum. And I can say the reverse is true. I have played some games I normally wouldn't because of the platinum. There was a game that came out recently on PS Plus called Concrete Genie that I would have completely ignored, but I looked it up. It's like, 6-hour platinum can be done in one playthrough, like nothing missable. Perfect. That's magnifique platinum. And then I really liked the game. I was like, I'm glad I played this game. This was really neat. I never would have done it without the platinum. So that's my argument for that. Go ahead and counter-argue me.
Well, I'm certainly not going to argue against easy platinums having both the I Am Mayo 2 on PS4 and Mayo and the Mayo on the PS Vita. So I mean, I'm not gonna knock those platinums. You're arguing a lot of theory, but in practice, we're both trophy hunters. Mm-hmm. We're both platinum trophy hunters, and the thing is that our numbers testify to a different set of actions that we undergo, that we go through.
Sure.
I recently got Platinum 151 by accident. I stopped hunting trophies at 149. I got a Platinum in Wet on PS3 because all I needed to do was beat the game on hard mode, it turns out. Mm. And then I happened to look at the trophies. I was like, I just got this recently. And then I also got the Platinum in Destroy All Humans, the re-release on PS4, again, unintentionally. Because I was playing the game, I wanted to 100% it for my own personal edification, and that was all the trophies were, and that was all they were that they were going for. I've got 151 platinums, but they pale in comparison to your over 200. What are you at? 200?
I think I'm like 219 or something right now.
Yeah. Nearly 220 platinum, so obviously you're making a lot of choices about games looking at the trophy list first. Mm-hmm. It's obviously not a one-to-one. I mean, I've got over 10,000 bronze trophies. I've got a lot of games that I started, did a couple of trophies for, and then gave up on. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, especially with trophy hunters, and inevitably I think most folks will become trophy hunters at some point, the problem with trophy hunting is that it doesn't always affect your decisions, but it will affect the decisions. It will affect your decisions at some point. Like there were some games that I saw the platinum where I'm like, no, I'm not going to play them because there's almost no chance of me getting the platinum, even though objectively I knew that I would love them. Like Last of Us and Last of Us 2. By all accounts, those are games that I'm going to have a great time playing. Well, as great a time as you can with those particular games. But I held off on them because I saw that I had to beat the game on the hardest difficulty with Plus, then I had to do a bunch of online achievements. And I'm like, no, I don't really want to do that. Star Wars Squadrons, and as soon as I saw there was a multiplayer component on it, a game I've been looking forward to for weeks, I just stopped playing it completely. Now, it's on my list of games to replay now because, again, I'm not looking at trophies anymore. But I mean, my counter-argument to your argument is that in theory, that all sounds good, but that's not what we do, and that's not what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of why I said that I had to go cold turkey on it. I just turned off all trophy notifications and just started playing games for the heck of it. And it took a couple of days, but yeah, I'm off them, and I check occasionally, and I'm like I said, I got 2 platinums on accident that I didn't know about. Because the trophy design was such that all you had to do was enjoy the game, and you got the platinum. And you also, I mean, playing through on the hardest difficulty is no small thing. That's it. And so that would be my counter-argument to it.
I admire you for being able to wean yourself off the stuff, because I need my fix, man. I need that bling. It's like I'm sitting there getting the jitters, and then bling, I'm okay, I can breathe. And it lasts for a few minutes, and finally I start to get the shakes again, so...
That dopamine hit, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a good segue to it. One of the subjects you wanted to bring up was story-driven games. So something like the Telltale games or Quantic Dreams games, such as Detroit Become Human. That was the one I played the most recently. These are story-driven games that often have multiple choices and multiple decisions. And we've seen different versions of these platinums. So in Quantic Dreams games, all of their platinums require you to see basically every aspect of the story, to take multiple paths. Whereas with most of Telltale's games, you just play through the game. When, you start it, you play to the end, boom, you get a platinum. So that was a subject worth bringing up, is how do we like that design? Because I have to be honest, I'm curious to hear what you say. I'm actually have a bit of a split mind on this. On one hand, I like the Telltale design. I like that it removes that burden of, I want to play this in a certain way because I'm trying to get a trophy. I appreciate that. At the same time, I was thinking about Detroit Become Human. I played through that the first time. If there weren't those trophies, yeah, I had a weird one the first time. But if there weren't those trophies to explore the other options, I don't know if I would have gone back a second time or a third time. And to be honest, I did enjoy those. It was fun to see the alternate paths, especially in that game, because there's a lot of really diverging aspects to it.
There are a lot of hard stops in the narrative, too.
Yeah, that you don't know about. So it was enjoyable. Oh, wow, I didn't even know that was a possible thing. So whereas Telltale's games, I have not played a single one of those twice because I felt no need to. Like, especially with the way, and maybe this is more Telltale's writing, but sometimes it feels like the decision you make in that won't ultimately change much. Like, you'll kind of end up at the same place anyway. So maybe that's maybe that's part of it. Maybe if their decisions were a bit more wild, I would feel a need to go back and check them out. But I definitely know in those Quantic games, those trophies did propel me forward to like, okay, I'll see what this other side is. So how do you feel about that?
Talk specifically about the Telltale games. I have absolutely nothing against the Telltale games platinums because I've got every single one of them.
Yeah.
I will say that as Telltale developed their games, especially from Batman through to Guardians of the Galaxy and then all through their Walking Dead series, their trophy system became a lot more sophisticated. With Guardians of the Galaxy, you literally play through it once and you get a platinum. But the decisions that you make throughout the course of it do change the narrative so much that you think, okay, what would happen if I did this? What would happen if I did that? And one of the things that Telltale does that I actually respect in retrospect, they make every decision bad enough that you want to play through it again to see if you can get a better one. Like with Guardians of the Galaxy, I hate to spoil the ending for everyone, but in Guardians of the Galaxy, the Guardians basically split up at the end, but it's a question of what the factions are going forward. Do you have a romantic faction between Star-Lord and Gamora, or do you have a pragmatic faction with Star-Lord, Rocket, and Groot? Drax vanishes depending on whether or not you go out the mouth or the butthole of a giant space worm.
Naturally.
Which is magnificent storytelling.
Yeah.
But in that case, I replayed the game even though I had Platinum just to see if I could change things up a little bit. In the later versions of the Telltale games, especially with The Walking Dead, you had to play through it more than once because they had collectibles trophies that were only available in different branches of the story. And I think that's a legitimate use of them to encourage extra play. But again, the narrative was good enough in both of those cases that I wanted to see how my decisions impacted the characters in different ways. With Detroit, and I guess I could say by extension this carries over through Detroit. So if I play through Detroit, even in the very beginning, I had to restart that game so many times because I would get to a decision and I would say, oh, wait a second, I did this, and then something horrible would happen. I'm like, okay, I'll go back. I'll do this one. I'll go this path. And then something equally horrible happens, and I'm like, God damn it. It's like, none of this is working.
Right.
But again, if these story-driven and character-driven games are designed well enough, you want to go back. You want to replay them. You want to see how things are going. Maybe you feel a closer relationship with some characters over others, or in one case, you find out one character doesn't have to die.
Yeah, found that out the hard way.
You could replay it and feel, like I'll use another Quantic Dream game with Heavy Rain.
Mm-hmm.
You could feel a stronger attraction towards Madison and want to see what happens with her story if you change things up.
Yeah.
And so you play again and make different decisions with her to see how her narrative changes. Or you could enjoy watching Ethan suffer and just do the lizard trial over and over again to see how bad it can get.
Right.
But again, the goal with that isn't... Now, with Heavy Rain, it's different because there is a trophy for torturing Ethan.
Yeah.
So, but even if there wasn't, there's a small part of all of us that are like, flyers, huh?
Well.
It's like, wait a second, that iron is hot, but is it hot enough to cauterize a wound? Oh, there's only one way for us to find out. So in that case, I would say that the trophies in those story-based games aren't necessary. because if the story is written well enough, and if you have enough of an attachment to the characters and the narrative, you want to see how it plays out farther. With Fable and with Mass Effect and with Fable and Mass Effect specifically, with the good guy, bad guy story branches, they do present differences, and they do have trophies for achieving maximum good or maximum evil. But the reason you play through multiple times is to see how things change by making those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
The trophies are kind of the fringe benefit for Renegade Shepard, as it were, with the Mass Effect series, or the evil person on Fable, for that path. But I would say in response to the story mode that they aren't necessary, and that if the story sings to you, you're going to want to know as much of it about it as you can, and the trophies would just be something that, like, I'll bring up the collectibles with Walking Dead. They weren't necessary. All they did was slow me down from the narrative that I wanted to pursue, so I would walk towards the camera to see if it changed an angle, so that I could see something my characters saw. Like, it's like, oh, wait a second, where's Gary's body? And then you walk towards the camera, and then Gary's right there. It's like, well, what were you asking for? He's like 5 feet away from you. What do you...
They're blind, I guess. No, that's a fair point. Okay, so I have to ask this, and I'll be curious to see your answer, because I know what my answer is, and that is, are there any platinums that you achieved that you actually regretted getting?
I will say there is no platinum that I've achieved, but there is a 100% that I achieved.
Ooh, what's that?
That I'm absolutely still irritated about to this day. It is Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. It was the prequel game to Phantom Pain. I thought it was a genius idea, where you have a game that introduces the mechanics, that introduces the play control, the game style, and all the things that you're going to use in the next game, so that there's basically main game for the first 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
No tutorial, no explanation. The idea is you play this game, that's your tutorial. And it's a functioning trailer for the entire series from that point forward. And I thought it was absolutely genius. For the story mode, it was very, very good. The problem came when, in order to pad out the playtime, you had to get like S ranks on a bunch of missions. That's legit. I understand that. That's fine. You have to go through Not Be Discovered. You have to achieve the objective, knock people out, and do it in less than 15 minutes. That's fine. I can live with that. It's a tactical espionage game. I'm okay with it. The part that I'm not okay with are some of the really, really, really ridiculous things that I had to do to clear some of the missions. Like, I had to get an S rank on a mission where I couldn't be seen, but then I had to go and recreate photographic moments from Metal Gear Solid 1 on the base for Metal Gear Solid 5. And one of the moments was I had to run across a helipad. Well, there were 2 searchlights going by it. You know how hard it is to stay invisible when there are 2 searchlights going around you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one took a little bit of work to get the S rank, because if you disabled the searchlights, you didn't get the photo, and the mission was a failure.
Oh, wow.
So thanks, guys. Thanks. Then I had to do one mission where I had to find a way to get into the back of a truck, and that brought me into the base, which sounds like, okay, well, that's a way that you could do it. That's a way that you would play the game anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you had like a window of about 1.5 minutes, and if you missed that window, or you were spotted, or you stepped on a rock in the wrong way when a guard was walking past you, restart the mission. Or you had to do a helicopter mission with the railgun version. S rank means that you don't get hit. So you got to know exactly where everyone is. You have to hit them from a distance with like an exploding pistol or something, like not even a Gatling gun. I mean, give me that. I mean, I'll use it the way that I'm supposed to this time.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's... And so I got 100% of it, and this was the first time that I actually encountered a game that didn't have a platinum. Because I got the final trophy and I was like, all right, let's see it. And nothing happened. And I'm like, did I miss one? And then I looked it up and I'm like, there's not a platinum?
That's rough. So this one, my choice, is actually something we both have. And I think from just us chatting, there's always some inner deep regret for Mayo, but it's Mayo. So it's a very recent one I got, if not my most recent. No, I think I got one since then, but it's Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And to get the platinum on this game, you had to finish it on, I think it was called like Deadly Obsession was the hardest difficulty. And the worst thing, like, really it's not that tough, like from a combat perspective, but they take away all the all the markings on the platforming, which the platforming in that game already isn't very good, in my opinion. And the worst part is there are no save points. Normally the game would auto-save. You have to manually go to a campfire which are spread out around the world, and that's the only time you can save. So you have to find one. So, for example, in the opening section, when she's in Brazil or Mexico, I can't remember where she's at.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I did that, I'm going through, I'm fighting enemies, and again, Lara sucks at platforming, and I get to this section, and I jump, and I just, hit the wall the wrong way, fall to my doom, and I lose an hour of progress, and have to go all the way back to the start. I was just like, are you kidding me? And there's so many times I would just lose 30 plus minutes, hours, because you can only save at these camps, but there's only so many camps. So it's not like, well, you just got to save more often. No, you're not even given the choice. And it was so frustrating, and it completely soured the experience for me. And so, it wasn't even satisfying when I was like, who thought that was good design? Who thought that, again, if the game was super refined controls, maybe it would have been one thing, but it's so easy for Lara to, I just whipped, or piranhas spotted me when I didn't think they could. They ate me underwater, so got to go back 45 minutes. Hated it.
Or when you see her hand hit a wall or a pipe, and she doesn't grab it.
Yes.
All the time.
There is a point where she's, it does that modern age platforming where you're basically hopping from one point to, she's clinging to a wall, and she'll look over and she'll reach out. That is the game's indication. Okay, she's reached, and I hit jump, and she jumped backwards and fell to her. I was like, what are you doing? You were in the animation to okay, I'm going to jump to the side. Oh, man, I wanted to pull my hair out. It was awful.
In fairness, the same thing happened with Ezio in Assassin's Creed 2 once or twice.
That is true. Yeah, but at least it just, reloaded where you left off there. Not okay, go back to the start. Yeah.
It's all right, back to the beginning of Venice with you. You're like, whoa.
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay, so, yeah, right? So wrapping up here, is my final question I'll ask for you. What is a platinum that you wish you had gotten but never did? And I'll start, if that's okay. Mine is Beatles Rock Band, because I love that game, and I have the Rock Band 2 Platinum, but unfortunately, it was just at that point, and the Rock Band and the Guitar Hero trophies in general, they just, they require a certain level of skill that a lot of people just don't possess. I remember for Beatles Rock Band, the one that was really holding this up was you had to 100% the bass line on I Saw Her Standing There on Expert. And that song is just super dum 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 over and over again for the whole song. You just couldn't do it. And you and I were pretty good at that game. You were always better on guitar and bass than I was. And even you, I know Lego Rock Band had the final countdown trophy. It was just I just can't do it. But it sucked because I love the game so much. And it was especially frustrating because I think I got almost every other trophy in that game. Maybe there was one other I could, but I didn't even bother going for the other one because I was like, well, what's the point? I'll never 100% this song. So, there's no point in getting that one and still not getting the platinum. So I loved Beatles Rock Band so much, but man, I just couldn't do it. So I wish I had that one.
I'll say mine. This one I don't have because of my own idiot behavior.
Oh no.
I looked at some of my older statistics and I found out this game I played more hours than any other game, excluding
Really?
Final Fantasy 14.
Okay.
Which because it's an MMORPG, you sink
Sure.
hours in that.
Yeah.
I remember I spent 3 hours one day making orange juice. Naked orange juice on the beach.
Good times.
Yeah, I had that kind of time. So this one is Ninja Gaiden Sigma Plus. It was the very first new generation Ninja Gaiden game, but it was on the PS Vita.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working nights and weekends while getting my second degree, I would be in. This isn't going to sound good, but I would be in the surveillance office, and I had my Vita, and I had a lot of downtime. And so I poured hours into this game. This is another example of what I think is a good trophy setup for a game, where you have to do a bunch of extra stuff to achieve the trophies, but the trophies themselves are just beat the game on the hardest difficulty and move forward. In order to beat the Master Ninja game, the Path of the Master Ninja, you not only had to beat the game on Master Ninja, you had to do it in a level select that took away all the items that you may have had, took away all the power-ups that you had, and you basically started the game with 2 healing potions and whatever weapons they felt like giving you.
Yeah.
I'm ready to tackle Path of the Master Ninja, and I'm doing pretty well. I get about halfway, then I hit a wall, and I'm like, all right, I'll just take a break on it. I get a 64 gigabyte memory card, And I'm like, this is awesome. I'm going to consolidate all of my stuff on this memory card. So what I do is that, you do the thing, you save it onto the hard drive, then you move it from the hard drive to the memory card.
Yeah.
Before I saved it on the hard drive, I deleted it from the memory card.
Oh, no.
And I didn't realize it until it said delete completed that that's what happened.
Oh, no.
And so it was at least 200 hours. At least. And I was thinking about it. I still had to work and I still had plenty of time left, but I'm like, do I want to restart this? And the problem was that the skills were still there, but I didn't want to have to go through all of that again. I mean, it was just
that's a moment where you're contemplating, like, is there a cliff nearby that I can walk off of? Or
so that's the one platinum. Yeah, it was within sight, but I'm just like, no. So thankfully the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection is coming out later this year, and I've intentionally not played the Sigma games on the PS3 again, so that I can concentrate completely on the PS4 version of them when they come out. And I do plan on getting a platinum on all of those because, like I said, I've been on the path of the Master Ninja for all 3 Sigma games. It's just an issue of I stop to take a break for something else, and then you can't lose your skills like that.
Yeah.
Or delete your save data.
Yeah, also true. Oh, man, that's a rough story. Well, I'm going to give my little closing arguments here in favor of trophies, in that I think they're great to have around. I definitely, of course, think they should be better designed. Sometimes, again, they just get too grindy or too whatever. I've got a top 10 terrible trophy types on this channel. You can go check it out if you're interested. But I hope they continue to add them and be thoughtful about them. Like, again, let me play the game in the way I want to play. I'll play on your hardest difficulty, that's fine, but don't turn the save points on. Come on, that's just silly. So I think they're a great thing. I feel they're like a tool. They're like a hammer. You use a hammer to take on a nail. It's just they got to use the tool the right way. So go ahead. What are your closing arguments?
I absolutely agree with what you said. The issue is that I don't see the trophies changing. Part of the thing is that the trophies, if anything, in order to pad out game time to justify $60 for these games, rather than focus on quality game design or relatable characters or things like that, they do lazy open world searches, they do sandbox things that take hours, and then they give you trophies that have absolutely nothing to do with the quality of the game, that just add time to it. And it's like, look, if I like the game, I'll play it for 60 or 70 hours. I mean, I played through Assassin's Creed Odyssey twice, just because I was like, well, I like the game, I'll just keep going. Trophies used to be good because they encouraged you to fully explore the potential of the game. Now they're just a misused tool to justify the expense. And rather than put time towards doing it meaningfully, I don't think they're going to anymore. So that's why I've sworn off of them completely. I'm just going to pick the games that I want to play. I'm going to enjoy playing them, and if I play them more than once, cool. If I don't, well, that's why I kind of be more prudent with my purchasing choices.
Right. Well, I hope they change at some point, and I hope they alter their design philosophy so that you come back. There's always that quote: "If you build it, they will come." So build good trophies, and we'll be there for them. Dude, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you had fun. Hope everybody, and we'll see you next time. So take care.